Please remain. Oh, happy Sabbath, everyone. Would you please stand with me as we read from the Word this morning? Isaiah chapter 9, verse 2 to 7. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. For those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation, you have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the tramping warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and his name, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time onwards and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. The word of God. Please be seated. I want to invite you to just take a few seconds with those closest to you and have a short little Christmas conversation, okay? I'm going to give you just about 30, 45 seconds. And I'd love for you to share with those around you, what is your favorite thing when you think about Christmas? What do you like to prepare? What do you like to enjoy? What is it about Christmas that makes Christmas Christmas? Ready? Go for it. Spend a moment or two. If you're watching along, we want to welcome you here to La Sierra University Church. We invite you to do this wherever you're at. You might be in a car, or you might be in an RV. You might be in Michigan. Feel free to share with each other. What is it about Christmas? What do you love about this season? I'll ask, and you can respond with a hearty amen if this is you. Is it the food that makes you excited about Christmas? That was more than an amen. Okay, there it is. Very good, very good. Seeing people, friends, and family. Hey, all right, okay. The decorations and the lights. Yep, you're a sick group, but yes, you're here with us. Is it something unique that only you like to do that most people don't do generally on Christmas? Anyone here like that? There's a couple of you here. How many of you love the Christmas carols and the singing? Yes? Can I share one of my favorite things about Christmas? And maybe this is your experience as well. But when I think about the Advent season and I think about Christmas, I think of George Frederick Handel. Does anyone else think about Handel's Messiah? Oh, it is not Christmas until you've heard Handel's Messiah. It was my freshman year. I went 4 years to Monterey Bay Academy. And I went up there because my sister went up there, and my dad said, well, if she goes, you gotta go. So I went with her. And my sister, when she got there, was looking for a couple elective classes as a junior. She decided she would do choir. And so because she was gonna do choir, she called me and said, Icky, you're doing choir. And I said, yes, Eva, whatever you want me to do. So I joined choir. Choir in those days were early in the morning. They were at 6 a.m. class. Yes, no one's voice is working correctly at 6 a.m. Wrong choice, but this is the time of the day that we had choir, and I came into choir, and we learned the first few songs. And I just the summer before, I had learned how to sort of read music. My aunt was taking me to a church choir, and I was singing there, and they were singing out a hymnal, and so I started, I was able to follow along and pick up the notes, and I thought, okay, choir should be an okay thing. And then, early in the fall, the conductor at the time, Mrs. Nelson, she stands up before this group of teenagers. There was at least 150 in that group. And she says, as we always do, we will prepare for Handel's Messiah for our Christmas musical. And I'd never heard of this. What is this Handel's Messiah? I mean, I was a young teenager. I was about 13. And up until that point, I didn't listen to any of that kind of music. I was familiar with Power 105.9 and Kiss FM 102.7 and Coast 103.5. I was familiar when I would ride with my dad of KNX 1070. You all had to bear through that too growing up. I knew Run DMC and LL Cool J, and I listened to Bette Midler so often. What is this Handel's Messiah all about? And I would be there. They gave us this thick book. It had all these songs, and when you'd open up the music in there, the dots looked like ants had scattered all over the place. So many dots, so many notes. And I just didn't know if I could handle such a lofty oratorio. Is that what they call it? I don't know, it sounds right. And then one of the seniors of the high school, a guy who had been on a few varsity teams, I saw him, we were friends, and I admired him. He gets up. Obviously, he had pre-tried out and pre-prepared, and the conductor wanted the choir to hear what it might sound like, and he begins to sing Comfort Ye. And I'd never heard something so angelic. It was smooth. It was movement. It was dynamic. It was transcendent. And all of a sudden, I was no longer just a kid from LA. I was distant from the sounds of the street and cars. And that melody lifted me into a different space. And so we practiced and practiced, and then there was a moment where the conductor, the choir conductor and the orchestra conductor got together so that we could hear all of it. The violins as they cascade, and the beautiful sounds of the oboe and the cello, and then we start singing, and we get to this song. Unto us a child is born. And the piece moves and moves and moves, and all of a sudden, I'm in a completely out-of-body experience from all the music. For those who may not be completely familiar with Handel's Messiah, welcome to the real world. And also, here's a small bit of it for you. before they cut us off YouTube. I mean, this is just coming through our sound system. Could you imagine a symphony of humans and instruments playing at full blast? Wow, it just lifts you out of your space, and it really is transcendent. You can't seem to find your way back to earth. You're caught up in this beautiful wave of music and song and praise, and it's beautiful. The irony here, of course, as we think about the Advent season, is that the actual passage by Isaiah begs us not to transcend away. It begs us to stay in place and be engulfed by the story that's taking place right then and right there. Don't get pulled out of an out of earth kind of experience, but stay here in the gritty earth and hear the story that comes beneath it and that holds the text together. People have been sharing this music for so long, and I think sometimes when we hear it, it pulls us away, and it feels good to be pulled away, because sometimes life is so hard as it is that it's just nice to be taken away. But Isaiah would plead with us in chapter 9, don't go away. Hear the story. Hear the backdrop. Let it soak in deeply. Every Advent season, we do a Advent season blog. And again, we did one this year. I'm so thankful to Pastor Raywin for all the 1 million things she does, as well as coordinate and pull together and coerce some of you to write for this blog. Can we thank her? Yeah. Pastor Raywin does phenomenal things, especially when people do not give her cold brew, because that's bad for her soul. And anyone who would do that to her, not tell her that it would keep her up for 12 days, is a bad lead pastor. That's not me. Someone else might have done that. But she does something creative this year. So the blog this year, if you haven't been reading along, are different church family and different church members who share a recipe of the wonderful things that they like to cook, things that remind them of the season, things that they enjoy to eat. And on these blogs, if you haven't been reading, there's the actual ingredients to how to make these things. They not only share the recipe, they share the instructions on how to make it. And they don't charge us for it at all. Friends, you can become a great cook. Catch onto the blog. I thought about, maybe creating the book myself and just taking the credit. It's like, these are all my recipes. And I would tell a story like it's mine, but it'd be kind of weird because I'd be like, as a Tongan growing up in South Africa with my Filipino parents making lumpia, trying to date my woman for 5 times making a burger. It didn't sound right. But if you haven't, check it out. It's really cool. Here's the thing about the actual recipes and the instructions. It is necessary for you to feel the full experience of what's on the text only through hearing the story that comes with the recipe. It is a story that anchors each recipe. The story is the heart of it all. It's what inspires the cooking. It's the story that gives backdrop and context to these ingredients, begging us to breathe it all in deeply before we can actually enjoy the recipe. As if we were to say that the story itself is indeed part of the cooking process. And when we do that, we get a holistic experience together. Mele, when she shared her blog on lice, everyone say lice? That just means rice. Tongans, we don't have an R, so we put it with an L. Lice. When she talked about her story of Lysa and going up around her grandpa and him making it for her, she ends the story by saying she has tried over and over and over again to make it taste exactly as her grandpa's way of making it. And then she admits, I know now that the missing ingredient that made his meals so delicious was the love he put into them. The whole experience lies in the story that anchors the recipes. Isaiah begs us, hey, don't just be transcendent into a different space, but stay here. Hear the story. Let the story of Isaiah's people and time anchor you to this beautiful Advent text. And so we hear it. Our pericope today starts in this verse 2. The people who walked in darkness have seen great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. And if we could just pause for a moment on that darkness, we have to ask, what is that darkness if we can enjoy the brilliance that comes after? What is that darkness? It is briefly mentioned here, but as we search and we scour and we listen to other books in the Old Testament, the Hebrew text, we get the bigger picture. Israel is in trouble. The darkness here is a very real darkness. It's not spiritual darkness. It's not some kind of feeling down. In Isaiah's world, the darkness was not poetic. It was political. It was military. It was existential. There are some real dark things happening right now for Isaiah's people. Judah was cornered. You see, the rising superpower of the time was Assyria, and they were beginning to extend their reach. They were known as a very brutal nation. The way they conquered and pillaged was tremendous, and it was known by all the known world at that time. And they were beginning to spread out, and Aram and Israel had begun to combine and collaborate to have this battle and fight back Assyria. And Judah here is now stuck between these battles. Do they gather together with Israel for safety, but lose their independence? Do they gather with Assyria, be assimilated, and have the possibility of being exiled and oppressed? This was a difficult time. Assyria was advancing. Alliances were beginning to collapse, and fear was thick in the air. They couldn't see any good options before them. This was not spiritual gloom. This was darkness of invasion, of loss, of anxiety, and of threat. King Ahaz is the ruler at this time. And King Ahaz is under it's immense pressure that he's under. He's not evil because he wants safety, and he's not faithless because he wants solutions. He wants what every good parent wants. He wants what every good student wants. He wants what every good ruler, every good human being wants. He wants something concrete, something immediate, and something strong. He needs for Judah these answers. He's in a fragile space, and things feel very urgent to him. It's dark, and he needs a concrete way forward. The trouble with God. Can we talk about the trouble with God? God is a troublesome God. God is a troublesome God because God just does not listen to us and does it the way we need God to do it. If God would just listen better, our world would be so much whole and happier that we often think. And Ahaz is in a place where there's deep urgency, and God doesn't seem to be moving at Ahaz's pace. And yes, Ahaz is a horrible king. If you read 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles, you've seen him in action. the extreme idolatry, sacrificing your son, harming the temple. I mean, he's not good. But the problem here isn't all of that, which all of that is a problem. The problem here, as he's in a strategic place, trying to make the right decisions to make things move forward, he acts out of fear and does not wait for God. He parades himself as a king of God's people and continually breaks the covenants of God. He sees himself as the one protector for all of his kingdom, but he bullies them. He creates narratives that are untrue and false. But here in this place, Isaiah chapter 9, the prophetic voice from Isaiah of rebuke and of joy is because Ahaz, even though he's a bad king, was making fearful decisions in his urgency. He could not imagine waiting for God. In such an expedient world where everything is rushed and everything feels like an urgent situation, it is imperative for us to slow down and wait for God. As Isaiah's announcement of the Prince of Peace was a prophetic response to the king who had failed at his job, who is moving Judah into a relationship with Assyria that will, as we've seen as we move forward in the chapters, turn out to be quite horrendous. He was making these decisions because he thought that was the only way forward. He either gave into the fear for Israel and Aram, or he would give into the empire of Syria, or they could go back down to Egypt, but we know those false hopes have fallen apart before. They're still living cultural, national trauma from what happened in Egypt. And so he believed this was the only thing he could do, was make a bad deal. Friends, when we are living in this world, and if you think the only option you have is to make a bad deal, may I invite you to stop and wait on God. You may feel like life is so urgent, you've got to make this decision, and so you're going to just have to compromise, and maybe I just have to do this, and maybe this is the way we get peace. Maybe we pull in the military power of Syria, and we can force people into peace. Wait on God. Be still and know that God is indeed still God. Isaiah chapter 9 is not a scolding of fear. All of us experience fear. All of us go through difficult things where we have anxiety and we're stressed. That's not the scolding that Isaiah has. What Isaiah 9 is doing is recognizing and proclaiming that God's refusal here is to let fear have the final word. Fear does not get to have the final word in our story. So Isaiah gives the ultimate response here of prophetic rebuke and joy. For a child has been born to us, a son given to us. Isaiah gives the alternative option. It's not Assyria. It's not Aram. It's not Egypt. Here's your option. From none of these external pressures and places do you need to bow to. Your great, beautiful, ultimate response is this one comes from inside. It will be a baby. That is Isaiah's great answer to the urgent problem at hand. Ahaz says, we've got some real issues. I need a concrete answer. I need it immediate. I need it strong. We need to have some kind of strategy that will answer all of the world powers around us. What should it be? And Isaiah says, a baby. Could you imagine what Ahaz was thinking when Isaiah said that? Sorry, what? A baby, a baby. It will be a son given to us. He will be the great, mighty King, the Prince of Peace, wonderful counselor. This was Isaiah's answer. Isaiah in the presence of Ahaz must have seemed like one of those friends that you have who always gives you the weird answer when you're looking for a real problem to be solved in life. You have friends like that? Who, if you got a real life problem, you want to fix it, and they don't give you an answer that makes any sense? Those friends, you like to have them around when you're not in an urgent space. But when you're going through things, you need the friends who can give you the right answers. That's why I keep Steve Hemingway close. I got an issue? Hey, Steve, I got a parking ticket. No, I'm playing. He doesn't do that, everyone. Or does he? No, I'm just... If there's a hole in the wall, hey, Steve, I don't know how to fix it. Steve is a fixer. If Steve is your friend and you're going through something, he's gonna find an answer, something concrete, something immediate, something that'll fix the urgency of that. All of our pastors on the staff are like that. Pastor Devo, Pastor Ben, Pastor Raywin. I'm the oddball out. I'm the person I wouldn't call when I'm in an emergency. Because I'm the one who'd be like, well, how do you feel about that? Well, maybe the Lord is trying to tell us something. And when you're in urgency, that's not what you want to hear. You find yourself doing that to your kids? See, when my kids get into sticky issues and it seems really urgent, I like to do this. It's a teaching lesson time, Well, is this the end of the world? Dad, that's not what I need. I'm in finals. Help me with math. Math. What does the Lord think about math? They hate when I do that, right? Like they have an urgent situation. They want it fixed. They need something concrete. They need a strategy. And I'm just very like, hell, let's sit with this. It'll be okay. You know what's worse than that, though, is when they do it to me. I hate that. I'm running late. I've got a bunch of stuff I got to do. I'm in the car. Oh, man, God, I'm stressed. And one of my kids will be like, Dad, what does it all mean anyways? Just relax. And in my head, I'm like, I say that to you because I don't mean it for me. I say that to you to help you, but right now, I need answers. Ahaz is in this place. Isaiah says, what about a baby? God is the Prince of, this is his great rebuke. This is his answer. It's not some kind of cool new treaty. It's not a grand weapon. It's not a promise for military reform. It's none of that. It has no real strategic bound or grounding to the issue that Ahaz is dealing with, issue that Ahaz is frightened of. Fix my problem. I have to get this done. And Isaiah says, your problem is not the problem. Your problem is you. Your problem is that your perception of your problem is that it is greater than God. Your problem is that your perception of peace is that you have to have enough power to control people in order to bring peace. That's your problem. I feel oftentimes through history, the church, we have been at our ugliest when we have bought that lie. That we need more power. And that if we could just control more, and if we could just have more influence, somehow that will make the kingdom of God stronger and better, and people will give their lives. And we say all these things at the same time we celebrate the mighty big God coming as a baby in fragility, in vulnerableness, in the need of care by others. The church, we are most dynamic and beautiful and powerful when we come in humility, when we choose to care more. He announces a baby, and that baby is a rebuke on what Ahaz is trying to do. Ahaz wants power. Hey, if we just collaborate with Assyria, we too can rise to power. And if we rise to power, we can control the narrative, and people will finally see we are worthy of following. And Isaiah says, here is God's answer. Instead of trying to be a powerful body of military, be a soft, fragile body of a baby. He announces the baby. And this place that they're in, this darkness, it's no place for a baby. Just ask the newest parents in our communities, because they're the most attentive about what babies should and shouldn't do and where they should go. Have you ever talked to a really young parent who has their first child? They don't play around, people. You don't mess around with them. Hey, is it okay if I touch your baby? I don't know, where have you been? I mean, I've been here with you the whole time, right? Hey, can your baby eat this? Did it touch the ground? Did it touch the plate? What did it touch? Did you clean it? Hey, I can drive your child up to your home. Let me see your driver's license and a background check. I'm your mom. Young parents are attentive. They know when something might be a hazard. I had the wonderful privilege, Mel and I had the wonderful privilege of working one of these baby seats, one of these newer ones. I mean, our kids are only, they're not that old. They're, only a little bit more than a decade. But the new car seats, they've got all kinds of new things on there. It holds the belt out for you so you don't struggle through this. Man, I was like, wow, they're really paying attention. You ask a young parent will tell you, this place in Isaiah 9 is no place for a baby. Armies on every side ready to attack. Darkness. Thousands of soldiers scared and anxious of dying at the whim of their dictator or their king. Darkness. Families scattered, scared, hungry. Darkness. Famine across the land. Hope almost extinguished. Darkness is truly setting in. I don't know about you, but the world we live in to me can feel an awful like Judah's scenario. And like Ahaz, I'm tempted to make decisions based on fear. Fear of healthcare concerns, of violence, fear of wars, fear of political instability, fear of economic issues, fear of exhaustion, distrust, mistrust, racism, abuse, children who don't have their basic needs met any given day, or stuck in horrendous situations and circumstances, much like families in Gaza who are trying to restabilize after major storms. Adults that speak of and against one another with hatred and vitriol, consumed by this rage economy that we're all trying to make sense of. And we all want to shout out to God, can you perceive the darkness that encloses on us? And all of the things you could have done, God. What good is a baby going to do? But a baby is the perfect rebuke for those who find themselves trying to compromise along the urgencies of the system and of their life. It is vulnerable and dependent. It is soft. It does not know how to protect itself and needs to be watched over. It does not cause any threat to others. The scandal of God's answer to Judah and in the birth of Jesus in the face of Pax Romana and today remains the same. Advent insists on this truth. God does not solve violence with more violence. God does not heal fear by mirroring it. God does not bring peace by amplifying power. If God's answer is a baby, then just like a baby, peace must be practiced. It must be protected. It must be grown. It must be taken care of together by all of us. Peace begins where we refuse to be hardened. Peace begins where we choose tenderness over terror. Peace begins when we believe that love can still outgrow fear. God does not solve our anxiety by over-muscling it. God disarms it by entering into it and invites us into that great work. That is what Isaiah is saying to Judah. The promise is this: God is not abandoned in the darkness. God has broken into it. And when God enters into the darkness as a child, it means the darkness is no longer final. So we wait, not passively, but faithfully. We wait with courage. We wait with hope. We wait with the strange confidence that sometimes the most powerful thing God can give in a broken world is not an army, but a child. And if we're honest, this Christmas, your urgency may not necessarily want God to answer with a baby. It may not feel concrete enough. It may not feel immediate enough. It may not feel strong enough for what we are going through right now. Yet this baby, wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, is indeed the practice of waiting and seeing the birth of new life in the midst of devastation. The glimpses of something that God has already been working on and invites us into. The beautiful birth that cries out, in the words of my friend Barbara, who spoke last night for Blue Christmas, God is here now to bring comfort in the dark places. What might this peace sound like for all of us this season? In the tension of your issues, in the brokenness of our world, in the injustices of our systems, in the hurt of our personal lives. Well, we sang it earlier, but I'd love for us to put those words up again. O Holy Night's third verse. So beautiful. Truly, he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy and grateful chorus, raise we. Let all within us praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Oh, praise his name forever.